My wife cheated on me with my best friend, my daughter took their side, then he ditched them, and now they want back in my life. Throwaway account for obvious reasons. I never thought I'd be one of those guys posting his life story on Reddit, but man, with everything that's gone down recently, I need to get this off my chest. Maybe my story can help some other guys avoid making the same mistakes I did, trusting the wrong people. I'm a 39-year-old man, and up until a few months ago, I thought I had everything figured out. Funny how life can pull the rug right out from under you, huh? But let me start from the beginning, because to understand just how badly I got screwed over, you need to know what I built, and what they destroyed. I'm a construction guy, always have been since I was 18. Not one of those desk jockey types who've never swung a hammer. I started at the bottom, busting my ass as a basic laborer. Summer days in 95-degree heat, winter mornings so cold your fingers go numb even with gloves on. But I loved every minute of it. There's something about looking at a finished building and knowing your sweat and blood went into making it real. I worked my way up the old-fashioned way, learning every aspect of the trade, taking night classes in construction management while working full days on site. Now, I'm a senior project manager, running multi-million-dollar developments across 3 states. Built my first company house when I was 25, sold it for a nice profit, and kept climbing from there. My crew would walk through fire for me because they know I've done every job they're doing, and I still jump in when things need to get done. I met my wife, Anna, 40F, when I was 19. She worked at this little diner where all us construction guys would grab breakfast before heading to the site. Man, she was something else back then, long brown hair, a smile that could light up the whole place, and she didn't mind that I'd come in with my work boots still dirty from the day before. It took me 3 weeks to work up the nerve to ask her out. My buddies even placed bets on whether I'd chicken out, just goes to show how long I've had shit taste in friends, but that's a story for later. We dated for 2 years, got married in a small ceremony, nothing fancy, but it was perfect for us. Anna said she didn't need an expensive wedding, she just wanted to start our life together. Man, what a load of BS that turned out to be, looking back. Our daughter, Emma, came along right after. Those early years were tough but good, you know. I was working 12-hour shifts, sometimes 6 days a week, coming home dead tired but proud because I was providing for my family. I started my own side business doing residential renovations on weekends. Anna used to pack me lunches and bring Emma to the site sometimes so I could see them during long workdays. I remember Emma at 4 years old, wearing this tiny plastic hard hat I got her, helping me measure lumber. Those memories kill me now, considering how things turned out. When our son, Jack, was born 8 years later, I had already moved up to site supervisor. I finally had enough saved up to buy Anna that bigger house she'd been wanting. Not gonna lie, I was proud as hell when I could give her that, 4 bedrooms, big yard, even a 3-car garage where I keep my tools and my weekend project, a '69 Mustang I've been restoring. Let me paint you a picture of what I built over 18 years of marriage. Custom house in a good neighborhood? Check. Kids in good schools? Check. Vacations every summer? Check. Sure, maybe I wasn't the most sophisticated guy, I still track dirt in the house sometimes, my hands are permanently calloused, and yeah, I drink beer instead of wine. But I gave them a damn good life. Jack is 14 now, Emma is 20. I put both kids in private school because Anna insisted they needed the best education possible. Paid for Emma's fancy art classes, Jack's travel soccer team, never said no when they needed something. Emma's in college now, guess who's paying that $40,000 a year tuition? This unsophisticated construction worker. I'm not trying to sound bitter here, okay, maybe I am a little, but I need you guys to understand what I sacrificed to give them the good life. Those early years, I'd work in 100-degree heat all day, then head to night classes, running on energy drinks and sheer determination. Missed my sister's wedding because we had a critical project deadline. Worked through pneumonia once because my crew needed me. Every callus on my hands, every scar, every aching joint, it was all worth it because I was building something for my family. Even managed to put away a decent nest egg, close to $800,000 in various investments. Anna never had to worry about money. She could buy whatever she wanted. Hell, she even had her own fun money account that I put $2,000 into every month. Yeah, you read that right, $2 grand a month just for her to spend however she wanted, no questions asked. Guess that wasn't sophisticated enough for her either. Looking back now, I can see I was so focused on providing everything they wanted that I missed the warning signs. I was too busy building dreams to notice they were turning into nightmares. But that's the thing about being a builder, you get so caught up in creating something strong and stable that sometimes you forget to check the foundation for cracks. The change in Anna didn't happen overnight. Looking back now, it's like watching a time-lapse of wood rot, starting small, barely noticeable, then suddenly, the whole foundation is compromised. It started about 2 years ago, right after I landed the biggest project of my career, a $50 million commercial development that would set our family up for life. You'd think she'd be proud, right? Her husband making executive-level money, doing honest work. Nah. Instead, she started making these little comments about how I was always covered in dust or how I didn't fit in with her new social circle. See, Anna had started working at this fancy boutique downtown, selling overpriced clothes to bored rich housewives. She didn't need the money, hell, her entire yearly salary was less than my quarterly bonus, but she said she needed stimulation and wanted to find herself. The first big red flag was the gym membership. Not your regular YMCA type of deal, nope, it had to be this exclusive fitness studio that cost more per month than my first car payment. She started going 5 days a week, always came home showered and all made up. Thinking about it now, I'm pretty sure she wasn't just working out all that time, if you know what I mean. Then came the phone thing. Anna used to leave her phone anywhere, never cared if I picked it up. Suddenly, she had a death grip on it. Password changed. Always texting with this little smirk on her face. If I walked into the room, she'd flip it over faster than a pancake. Said she was just chatting with her boutique friends. Yeah, right. And Emma, our daughter, she started picking up her mom's new attitude. She used to be my little girl, always wanted to help me in the garage, knew every tool by name. Now, suddenly, she was embarrassed that her dad was a blue-collar worker. Started making these snide comments about how her friends' dads all had respectable office jobs, like building things that actually matter wasn't respectable enough for her anymore. Anna stopped cooking about a year ago. Said she was too exhausted from work. Started ordering these fancy meal prep services instead, $300 a week for what looked like bird food to me. I offered to grill or make my mom's lasagna recipe, which they used to love, but apparently, that wasn't sophisticated enough anymore. One night, I came home from a 14-hour day supervising a critical concrete pour. Found them eating sushi in front of the TV. They didn't even save me a plate. When I made myself a sandwich, Anna actually complained about the smell of my work clothes. 20 years of those same work clothes putting food on the table, and suddenly, they were a problem. The real kicker. Anna started redecorating the house. Everything I built with my own hands, the custom kitchen cabinets, the hand-carved mantel, the built-in bookshelves, she wanted to replace with some modern minimalist bullshit. Spent $15,000 on a designer couch that looked like something you'd find in a dentist's office. The couch I later caught them on. But that's for the next chapter. My garage was my last sanctuary. Every weekend, I'd be out there working on the Mustang, teaching Jack about engines and bodywork. Anna used to kiss me even when I was covered in grease. Now, she started parking her new Lexus, the one I paid for, on the street because the garage was too dirty. Complained about the noise when I was working out there. Said the neighbors probably thought we were low class because of my project car. Even our sex life went to shit. It used to be passionate, spontaneous. She never cared about getting a little dirty with me. But last year? Nothing. Always had a headache, was too tired, needed to be up early for yoga. Should have known she was saving her energy for someone else. The worst part? I made excuses for all of it. Told myself she was going through a phase, maybe a midlife crisis. Worked even harder, thinking if I could just provide more, be more successful in her eyes, she'd go back to being the woman I married. Bought her jewelry. Planned surprise weekends away, which she usually canceled last minute because of work commitments. Jack saw it, though. My boy's got good instincts. He started spending more time in the garage with me, less time around his mom and sister. One day, he looks at me and says, "Dad, why are you trying so hard? They don't even appreciate it." Wise words from a 14-year-old. But I was too blind to listen. I kept thinking about the Anna I married. The woman who used to pack my lunch every day. Who'd run her fingers through my hair even when it was full of sawdust. Who used to brag to her friends about how her husband built things with his own hands. The woman who used to say she was proud of my calluses because they were proof of how hard I worked for our family. That woman. She was long gone. Replaced by someone I didn't even recognize anymore. I should have seen it coming when she started hanging out with her new, sophisticated friends. Every weekend, it was wine tastings, art galleries, stupid meditation retreats. Meanwhile, I was working overtime, managing crews, dealing with suppliers, making sure our family's future was secure. But apparently, that wasn't enough anymore. She needed someone who could talk about French wines and modern art, not someone who could build a house from the ground up. This is where everything really went to shit. I have this buddy, Marcus. Marcus and I go way back to trade school. While I stuck with construction, he went into real estate. Marcus always talked about how he was elevating himself above the trades. I should have seen the red flags when he showed up at my door 3 months ago, driving a leased BMW, found that out later, and wearing a watch that cost more than most people's monthly mortgage. He said he lost his real estate license in his home state due to some misunderstanding with the board. Needed a place to crash while he rebuilt his business here. Looking back, I'm pretty sure he got caught running some kind of scam, but I was too trusting to dig deeper. That's what real friends do, right? Help each other out when they're down. Let me paint you a picture of this guy. About my height, but half the muscle, one of those gym brothers who only works on his glamour muscles. Always wore these tailored suits that probably cost more than my crew makes in a month. Had this way of talking that made everything sound like a humble brag. "Oh, this old thing. Just a little Rolex I picked up. But man, your calluses really show what real work looks like. Fake as a $3 bill. But my wife and daughter ate that shit up." The first night he stayed with us, he brought over some fancy wine and started talking about his investment strategies. Anna was hanging on every word like he was Warren Buffett himself. Emma too. Both of them giggling at his stupid jokes, asking him about his worldly adventures. Meanwhile, I was sitting there thinking about the 3 construction projects I was juggling, the ones actually putting food on the table. Marcus stayed in our guest room for 2 weeks. 2 weeks that changed everything. Every morning, he'd come down in his designer sleepwear, who the hell buys $200 pajamas, making espresso in this fancy machine he brought with him. Started teaching Anna about proper coffee appreciation, like the diner coffee we used to love wasn't good enough anymore. During those 2 weeks, I watched this snake charm my family right under my nose. He'd take Anna and Emma shopping, saying they needed to upgrade their style. Started talking to Anna about investment opportunities, even though I handled our finances just fine. Always had some reason why they needed to meet for lunch or coffee to discuss business opportunities. The way he wormed his way into my family's good graces was straight out of a manipulation handbook. He'd praise Anna's natural sophistication, telling her she was wasted working in that boutique. Told Emma she had model potential and that she should think about upgrading her social circle. Real subtle, right? But here's the thing that really gets me, while he was playing Mr. Sophisticated with my wife and daughter, he was trying to maintain the old buddy act with me. He'd come out to the garage, beer in hand, talking about the old days. Even tried to give me advice on my Mustang restoration, like he'd ever turned a wrench in his life. One Saturday, I was under the Mustang, replacing the transmission, which I rebuilt myself, by the way, when Marcus comes out. Designer shoes, probably getting dirty for the first time ever, and starts telling me I should think bigger. Said I was wasting my potential in construction. That with my experience, I could be so much more. Like building things that last isn't worth doing unless you can do it in a suit. Found out later, he was telling Anna the same thing. That I was stuck in my ways. That I lacked ambition. Rich, coming from a guy who was basically couch surfing at 40. But Anna, she started looking at me differently after that. Started making comments about how I could do better if I just applied myself differently. The real kick in the teeth. He started showing up at my job sites, all suited up, talking to my crews about investment opportunities. Found out he was trying to get them to invest in some real estate scheme of his. Had to shut that down fast. These are good guys with families to support, not pawns in his games. Jack was the only one who saw through him from day one. My boys got better instincts than I ever had. One night, after Marcus had taken Anna and Emma to some wine-tasting event while I was working late finishing a project, Jack says to me, "Dad, that guy's fake. Like those knockoff watches they sell on the street. Wish I'd listened to him sooner." Even my dog didn't trust him. Kaiser, my German shepherd, usually loves everyone, but around Marcus, wouldn't stop growling. I should have trusted my dog's judgment. They say animals can smell bad character. Kaiser knew he was a snake before any of us figured it out. After those 2 weeks, Marcus found a place of his own. Or so he said. Turned out later it was a short-term rental, way above his means. But by then, he had his hooks in deep. Started showing up at our house when I was at work. Always with some excuse about needing to talk to Anna about business opportunities or wanting to mentor Emma about her future. I know what you're thinking, how could I be so blind? Trust me, I ask myself that every day. But when you've known someone for 20 years, when they've stood next to you at your wedding, when they've seen your kids grow up, you don't want to believe they could betray you like that. I'd been noticing weird shit around the house for weeks. Tools moved in my garage when I hadn't touched them. The pool temperature being warmer than I'd left it. Small things that wouldn't mean much to most people, but when you've spent your life paying attention to details on construction sites, you notice when things are off. So I did what any guy with access to security equipment would do. I installed cameras. Not the cheap stuff from big box stores, professional-grade equipment I got through my construction contacts. Cameras that could catch every angle of the house, inside and out. Hidden ones, too. Because something in my gut told me I needed to be smart about this. The setup was perfect. Everything fed directly to my phone, with motion alerts and cloud backup. Cost me a pretty penny. But as they say in construction, measure twice, cut once. I also installed a GPS tracker on Anna's car. Yeah, I know how it sounds, but when you're responsible for millions in construction equipment, you learn a thing or two about tracking assets. Here's where it gets good. Last Thursday, I was at the site, doing final inspections on a major commercial project. We'd been busting our asses for weeks to finish ahead of schedule, and we were finally in the home stretch. My phone buzzed, motion alert from the pool camera. It was 2 p.m. Middle of a weekday. Nobody should be home. I checked the feed, and there it was. Marcus's BMW, pulling into my driveway. The one I paved myself last summer. Anna's car was already there. She was supposed to be at work. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold the phone, but I kept watching. They were heading to the pool area, all smiles, touching. Marcus was carrying a bottle of something, probably one of his fancy wines. Loved showing off. And here's the kicker. They used the pool key I lost 3 weeks ago. The same one Anna said she'd help me look for. I told my foreman I had a family emergency, jumped in my truck. The whole 20-minute drive home, I kept watching them on my phone at red lights. They were getting cozy. In my pool. The one I designed and built with my own 2 hands last summer. 60 grand in custom stonework, heating systems, years of hard work. And that snake was using it to hit on my wife. But I'm not stupid. In construction, you learn to document everything. So I hit record. Saved every second of footage. Years of dealing with contract disputes taught me the value of solid evidence. I pulled up to my house, quiet as possible, parked around the corner where they couldn't see my truck. Entered through the garage using the silent mode I installed on the door, another unnecessary upgrade Anna had once complained about. I could hear them laughing, splashing through the patio doors. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. Pure fucking rage. But here's where 20 years of managing construction sites pays off. I've learned to keep my cool in crisis situations. When you're responsible for million-dollar projects and dozens of workers' safety, you learn to think before you act. So instead of rushing out there, I took a minute. Set up my phone to record. Made sure I had multiple angles covered. Then, I walked out to my back patio, calm as if I was doing a routine site inspection. And there they were. Marcus and Anna. All over each other in my pool. They didn't even notice me at first, too busy playing tonsil hockey like teenagers at a pool party. Marcus saw me first. Man, I wish I had a picture of his face. All that fake sophistication. Gone in an instant. He literally pushed Anna away, scrambling to get out of the pool like it was full of sharks. Brother, this isn't, I can explain. Yeah. Sure, you can, buddy. Anna. She went straight to attack mode. Started screaming about how I was never home, how Marcus understands her needs, how I'm emotionally unavailable. Rich, coming from someone who was very physically available in my pool with my best friend. And the best part? Remember those cameras I installed? They caught everything. Including the 5 other times they'd used my pool while I was at work. The times they'd snuck into my garage for their little rendezvous. All of it. Crystal clear. 4K, with audio. Marcus tried to grab his stuff and run, but I was blocking the gate. He stood there, soaking wet, in his fancy swim trunks, probably realizing that his designer watch wasn't waterproof after all. Move, he said, trying to sound tough. 20 years of construction work versus his Pilates classes. Yeah. Good luck with that, buddy. I just smiled and held up my phone. Showed them the live feed from all the cameras. Got enough footage here to make a movie, I told them. Wonder what your real estate clients would think. Or the licensing board in your new state. Anna's face went white. She started babbling, it's not what it looks like. We can work this out. Like I'm some contractor she can negotiate with over change orders. And Marcus? That coward actually tried to play the old friendship card. Think about our history, man. Don't do anything crazy. I laughed. Actually laughed out loud. History? You mean like the history of these videos? Or the history of you trying to scam my workers with your investment schemes? Or maybe the history of you hitting on my daughter when you thought nobody was watching? Yeah. I had footage of that too. Caught him getting way too friendly with Emma during one of their little mentoring sessions. Save that little bit of evidence for later. Always good to have backup plans in construction. I turned to them both. Get the hell out of my house. Marcus started grabbing his stuff, but I stopped him. The Rolex stays, I said. Consider it your first payment for pool usage fees. And you know what? He actually took it off and put it on the table. Guess he didn't want me sharing those videos after all. The aftermath of catching them was like watching a foundation crack during an earthquake. Everything I thought was solid just split apart. The next few days in that house felt like walking through a war zone, with battle lines drawn in ways I never thought I'd see in my own family. The first person I told was Jack. He deserved to hear it from me, not through gossip or social media. I found him in the garage that evening, working on the Mustang's carburetor, just like I'd taught him. The kid took one look at my face and knew something was wrong. I sat him down on my workbench, the same one I built when he was just learning to walk, and told him everything. You know what my son did? He hugged me. 14 years old, at that age where most kids are too cool to show emotion, and he just wrapped his arms around me and held on tight. When he pulled back, there was a look in his eyes I'll never forget, part anger, part determination. They're dead to me, he said. With a maturity that broke my heart and made me proud at the same time. Emma? Different story entirely. She came home from her college classes to find me changing the locks. First rule of construction, secure the site. She asked what was going on, so I showed her the footage. All of it. The pool. The garage. Everything. You know what she said? Dad, you're overreacting. They're in love. These things happen. These things happen. My own daughter, defending the man who helped destroy her family. She actually had the nerve to say that Marcus was more emotionally available than me. That he understood her generation better. That maybe if I hadn't been so focused on manual labor and had tried to elevate myself, Mom wouldn't have needed to look elsewhere. The next few days were a blur of lawyers, phone calls, and watching my family split into two sides. Anna moved into a hotel, crying about how I was being unreasonable and how we could work through this. Emma went with her, of course. Said she couldn't stand to be around my negative energy. Told me I was toxic for not being willing to forgive and move forward. But here's where it gets even better. Emma started defending Marcus to everyone who would listen. She said he was helping her network, showing her a better way of life. Started posting on social media about how love doesn't follow conventional rules and how true connections transcend traditional relationships. The mental gymnastics this girl was doing could have won Olympic gold. My crew at work had my back 100%. Word got around about Marcus trying to scam them with his investment schemes, and let's just say, he's not welcome on any construction site in the tri-state area anymore. My foreman, Mike, actually offered to have some guys talk to Marcus. Had to turn that down. When you've poured as much concrete as I have, you know there are some things better left unspoken. But the most painful part? Watching Emma turn into a mini version of what Anna had become. She started dressing different, talking different, acting like the last 20 years of family life were beneath her. One day, she came back to pick up some clothes. Walked into the garage, where Jack and I were working on the Mustang, and actually wrinkled her nose. "God, how can you stand the smell of grease?" she said. "This is why Mom left. You never wanted to improve yourself." Jack didn't even look up from the engine. Didn't even blink. "No, Emma," he said, hands steady as he adjusted a valve. "Mom left because she's shallow. And you're turning out just like her. My boy." Speaking truth that cut like a welding torch. The house felt different after they left. Emptier. But somehow, less suffocating. Jack and I fell into a routine. I started teaching him more about construction, brought him to some job sites. He's got a natural talent for it. Can read blueprints better than some of my experienced guys. Every night, we worked on the Mustang together, talking about everything and nothing. Real conversations. Not the fake social chatter Anna and Emma had become so fond of. One night, about a week after everything blew up, I found Jack sitting in the garage, looking at old family photos. One of them was from a beach trip, years ago, Anna and Emma building a sandcastle, while Jack helped me set up the umbrella. He looked up at me. "Dad, were they always like this and we just didn't see it? Or did they change?" Hardest question I've ever had to answer. I told him the truth. Sometimes, people show you who they really are when they think they've found something better. Like when you strip old paint off a wall and find the rot underneath. Even the neighbors took sides. The Johnsons next door, the ones I helped with their basement flooding last year, suddenly too busy to say hello. But Mike down the street, whose roof I fixed after that big storm, started bringing over beer every Friday. Said his door's always open if we need anything. And now, let me tell you what happened when Anna and Emma moved in with Marcus. They thought they were upgrading their lives. Let me paint you a picture of their grand new life. Marcus had rented this luxury apartment in the fancy part of town. One of those places with a doorman and a rooftop pool. Found out later he was paying $4,500 a month in rent. Way above his means. But my soon-to-be ex-wife and daughter thought they'd hit the jackpot. Anna actually texted me pictures of the place, like she was trying to prove how much better off she was. "See what we were missing," she wrote. "This is what sophistication looks like." Yeah. Sophistication on borrowed money and lies. As they'd soon find out. The first few weeks, they were all over social media. Anna posting pictures of wine tastings and cultural discussions. Emma sharing poolside selfies, talking about how she was finally among people who appreciate the finer things in life. The comment section was full of their new sophisticated friends, congratulating them on their brave choice to pursue authentic happiness. But here's the thing. Through my construction contacts, we know everyone in this town. Including high-end real estate agents. And I kept tabs on what was really going on. Marcus's real estate license application was stuck in review. Turns out, his misunderstanding in his home state was actually a fraud investigation. He wasn't closing any deals, just burning through whatever cash he had left, trying to maintain his fancy image. But Anna and Emma? They were too busy playing house in their new, sophisticated world to notice the cracks forming. Anna quit her job at the boutique. Said it was beneath her now that she was with Marcus. Started calling herself an influencer, trying to build a social media following. Posted long rants about finding yourself and living authentically. Real rich coming from someone who abandoned her 14-year-old son. Emma dropped 2 classes at college, said she needed time to focus on her personal growth. Started dressing in designer clothes Marcus bought her, acting like she was born into money, instead of being raised by a hardworking construction worker. One day, she came back to grab more of her stuff from our house, wearing a watch that cost more than my first truck. Jack asked where she got it. She just smirked. Marcus knows how to treat a lady right. Yeah. I bet he does. Meanwhile, the real estate agents I knew started filling me in. Marcus was desperate. Trying to put together deals with no money down, promising returns he couldn't deliver. Started hitting up his sophisticated friends for investments in his latest scams. Even tried to get Anna to convince me to invest some of our retirement savings into one of his brilliant new ventures. Yeah. Good luck with that, buddy. Then the cracks really started to show. About 2 months into their new life, things fell apart. Their credit card got declined at some fancy restaurant. My buddy owns the place. Told me later that Marcus played it off as a banking error, but I knew the truth. He was burning through cash faster than a poorly insulated house burns through heating oil. Anna started calling mutual friends, asking to borrow money, said it was just temporary cash flow issues until Marcus's big deals came through. These were the same friends who took her side during the split, thinking she had moved up in the world. Now they were seeing the truth, one bounced check at a time. Emma's social media posts started getting desperate. Less about living her best life, more about seeking opportunities. Started trying to sell sketchy diet products online, calling herself an entrepreneur. The same girl who used to mock my dirty construction money was now hawking miracle weight loss teas on Instagram. And then the breaking point. Marcus's BMW got repossessed, right from their fancy apartment's parking garage. Anna called me in tears. Not to apologize, but to ask for money. Said it was for Emma's tuition. But I knew better. Told her the tuition was already paid, directly to the school. One of the first things I did after the split was make sure Jack and Emma's education was secure. You don't understand, she sobbed. We're just having a temporary setback. Marcus has these amazing deals lined up. I cut her off. Told her I'd learned enough about Marcus's amazing deals to know they were as fake as his Rolex. Yeah. Turns out that fancy watch he left by my pool. A knockoff. And their sophisticated friends started dropping them one by one. Turns out, the upper crust isn't so friendly when you can't pick up the dinner tab anymore. All those people who praised their brave choices suddenly had other plans when Anna tried to organize their weekly wine tastings. But Anna and Emma still clinging to their fantasy. Anna kept posting about their amazing life, even as Marcus's credit cards kept getting declined. Emma still playing the role of sophisticated stepdaughter, even though she had to start selling her designer clothes online to make rent. And this is exactly how their perfect little world collapsed. It was a regular Tuesday night. Jack and I were in the garage, working on the Mustang. I was teaching him how to weld, kid's a natural, by the way. Then, my phone started blowing up. Call after call. From Anna. Normally, I ignore her. Been doing that for months. But something about the frequency made me pause. 15 missed calls in 20 minutes isn't normal. Even for her. When I finally picked up, I could barely understand her through the sobbing. Had to tell her 3 times to slow down and breathe. Then it came out. She had come home early from her influencer meeting. Basically, her sitting in Starbucks, taking selfies with overpriced coffee. And she found Marcus and Emma getting hot and heavy on their designer couch. The same Marcus who had been playing Daddy Dearest. Buying Emma designer clothes, promising to guide her career. The same Emma who looked down on me for working with my hands. Who called me toxic and unsophisticated? There they were. Tangled up on a couch that probably hadn't even been paid for yet. And according to Anna, once she could actually talk coherently, this wasn't the first time. She found messages going back months. All those career mentoring sessions. Yeah. They weren't discussing job opportunities. While Anna was out trying to build her social media brand, her boyfriend and daughter were building something else entirely. And the best part? When she confronted them, neither of them even tried to deny it. Marcus, that snake, actually had the audacity to say they were in love. That Emma understood him on a deeper level. Sound familiar? Same lines he used about Anna when I caught them. Guess his sophisticated vocabulary doesn't include many original phrases. And Emma? She looked Anna dead in the eye and said, "Well, Mom, these things happen when you pursue authentic happiness, right?" Throwing Anna's own words right back at her, the same excuse she used to justify her affair with Marcus. Now that's what I call karma. Anna was hysterical on the phone, begging me to help her. She said she finally understood how I felt that day at the pool. Asked if she could come home. If we could try again for our family's sake. Said she'd made a horrible mistake, and now she knew what really mattered. You know what I did? I laughed. Not a happy laugh. More like the kind of laugh you let out when something is so messed up that it circles back to funny. Told her she and Emma had made their choices. They chose sophistication over substance. Appearances over loyalty. Now, they could live with those choices. But it gets better. Remember all those amazing business deals Marcus had lined up? Turns out, the only thing he was investing in was his image. Anna found out they were 3 months behind on rent for that luxury apartment. All those designer clothes and fancy dinners. Maxed out credit cards and borrowed money. The next day, Emma tried calling me. When I finally answered, she was defensive. Said I couldn't judge her because I didn't understand sophisticated relationships. That what she had with Marcus was different. Special. That he saw her as an equal, not just some kid. I told her that Marcus had probably said the same thing to her mother. Asked her how it felt to be the newer model in his pattern of trading up. She hung up on me. Truth hurts, doesn't it, princess? Jack's reaction when I told him. The kid didn't even look surprised. Just shook his head and said. Guess all that sophistication didn't include loyalty, huh? Then went right back to welding. My boy's got wisdom beyond his years. The aftermath? Beautiful to watch. Anna and Emma had to move out of their luxury apartment. Turns out, Marcus had been lying about paying the rent. Their sophisticated friends disappeared faster than concrete sets in summer heat. All those social media followers got quite a show when Anna and Emma started posting vague messages about betrayal and toxic masculinity. And Marcus? He skipped town when his real estate scam started catching up with him. Last I heard, he's trying to pull the same routine in another state. Left Anna and Emma with a pile of debt and some worthless investment paperwork. Now, they're living in a 2-bedroom apartment across town, trying to fix their mother-daughter relationship. Last week, Anna tried coming by the house again. Crying. Talking about how sorry she was. How she'd learned her lesson. Emma sent me this long text about how she was young and confused. How Marcus took advantage of her vulnerability. Jack and me. We're doing just fine. The Mustang's almost finished. Turns out, all those hours in the garage were good therapy. My construction company's expanding. Just landed a $10 million contract. Jack's talking about studying engineering after high school. Says he wants to design the buildings I build. And me? I started seeing someone recently. Her name's Rachel, a structural engineer I met on one of my projects. She's got dirt under her nails sometimes. Knows more about load-bearing walls than wine pairings. Jack likes her. Says she's real. Coming from him. That's high praise. Sometimes, I look at old family photos. I wonder how it all went so wrong. But then I remember what my old foreman used to say. Sometimes, you gotta tear down something weak to build something stronger. He was talking about buildings. But damn, does it apply to life too? Final edit. Thanks for all the support, Reddit. Special thanks to all the brothers who shared similar stories. Remember, you can't build anything solid on a foundation of lies. And sometimes, the best revenge is just letting karma do her thing while you focus on building something better. Edit 2. Damn. This really blew up. RIP my inbox. To answer the common questions. Yes, I still have the security footage. No, I won't share it. Yes, Jack and I are doing great. And yes, Rachel knows the whole story. She says I dodged a bullet. And you know what? She's right.